Every NFL fanbase has them, those fans who make you embarrassed to root for the same team, who turn game day into a nightmare, and who somehow make losing even more painful than it already is. Today, we're breaking down every type of terrible NFL fan that ruins the experience for everyone else. From bandwagon jumpers to social media trolls, these are the fans that make you want to watch games alone. The bandwagon jumper. Let's start with the most obvious one, the bandwagon jumper. These are the fans who magically appear when their team is winning and vanish faster than a fumble in the playoffs when things get tough. You know exactly who I'm talking about. They show up wearing brand new jerseys with no creases, talking about we like they've been there through the rebuild years. The perfect example? All those Chiefs fans who suddenly appeared after 2019. Don't get me wrong, Kansas City has plenty of loyal fans who suffered through decades of playoff heartbreak, but there's also a whole army of people who discovered football existed right around the time Patrick Mahomes started throwing no-look passes. The Taylor Swift situation made this even worse. When she started dating Travis Kelce, suddenly every Swiftie became a Chiefs fan. You've got people who couldn't tell you what a safety is posting about how Kelce is the greatest tight end ever. They're wearing Chiefs gear to concerts and acting like they've been bleeding red and gold their whole lives. The dead giveaway with bandwagon fans is their complete lack of historical context. They'll tell you how amazing their team is without knowing a single player from 5 years ago. Ask them about the dark years and they'll change the subject faster than a Tyreek Hill deep route. What makes bandwagon fans so infuriating isn't that they're new. Everyone starts somewhere. It's that they act like they've been around all along, when real fans remember every heartbreaking loss and mediocre season that led to the success. The fairweather fan. Fairweather fans are bandwagon fans' annoying cousins. The difference is fairweather fans have been around longer, but they only show up when it's convenient. These are the people who disappear for entire seasons when their team is struggling, then act shocked when you question their loyalty. You'll see them at playoff games wearing jerseys that still have the tags on them, complaining about ticket prices like they've been buying season tickets for years. They're the ones posting on social media about how they never stopped believing right after their team makes the playoffs, conveniently forgetting they spent the entire regular season watching Netflix instead of games. The worst part about fairweather fans is how they try to gatekeep during the good times. They'll question other fans' dedication while they were literally nowhere to be found when the team went 4-12. They act like showing up for the fun parts makes them more loyal than fans who suffered through every terrible game. Fairweather fans love to talk about how they're protecting their mental health by not watching bad teams, but then they want all the credit when things turn around. Sorry, but you don't get to skip the pain and still claim the joy. The know-it-all. Every fan base has that one fan who thinks they understand football better than everyone else, including the actual coaches. These are the people screaming at their TVs about play calls like they're running Madden simulations in their head. Know-it-all fans have an opinion about everything and they're never wrong. Just ask them. They'll tell you exactly what play the team should have called, which players should be benched, and why the coaching staff is completely incompetent. The fact that they've never played organized football past high school doesn't stop them from critiquing NFL-level strategy. These fans are insufferable during games because they're constantly explaining obvious things to everyone around them. See, they're running a cover 2 defense here, they'll say, like they're breaking down film for ESPN. They use terminology they learned from video games and act like they're providing expert analysis. The know-it-all fan's favorite phrase is "I would've," followed by some play call that makes no sense in context. They would have gone for it on 4th down. They would have called timeout. They would have started the backup quarterback. They're basically armchair coaches who think football is as simple as calling the right plays in a video game. What makes know-it-all fans particularly annoying is how they never give credit when things go right. If their team wins, it's despite the coaching, not because of it. They're always ready to say "I told you so," but somehow never remember all the times they were completely wrong. The stat sheet warrior. Fantasy football has created a whole new breed of terrible fan, the stat sheet warrior. These people don't actually care about their team winning or losing, they only care about individual player statistics because it affects their fantasy lineup. You'll recognize stat sheet warriors immediately because they're the ones cheering when their team's running back scores a touchdown but complaining when their defense gets a pick 6 because it means fewer passing yards for their fantasy quarterback. They've completely lost sight of what actually matters in football. The worst stat sheet warriors are the ones who root against their own team's defense because they're playing against them in fantasy. Imagine being so obsessed with a fake game that you're actively hoping your real team gives up points. It's like rooting against your own family because you bet against them. These fans turn every conversation about football into a discussion about their fantasy team. Yeah, that was a great touchdown, but I really needed Kelce to catch it instead of Pacheco to run it in. Nobody cares about your fantasy team, Karen. Stat sheet warriors also have the most backwards priorities. They'll be upset about a dominant defensive performance because it meant fewer offensive statistics. They'll complain about their team running out the clock in a blowout win because their players didn't get garbage time stats. They've forgotten that the point of football is to win games, not accumulate fantasy points. The living in the past fan. Every successful franchise has fans who won't stop talking about championships from decades ago. These are the people who bring up Super Bowl wins from before some current players were even born, like it somehow makes their current team better. Cowboys fans are the worst at this. They'll tell you all about their dynasty from the 90s like it happened yesterday, conveniently ignoring that they haven't won a playoff game in years. We're America's team, they'll say, apparently unaware that America has moved on to other teams that actually win games. Steelers fans do this too, constantly talking about their 6 Super Bowl wins while their current team struggles to make the playoffs. Patriots fans spent years living off their dynasty, though at least theirs was more recent. But even they're starting to sound like broken records, talking about Tom Brady like he's still on the team. Living in the past fans use historical success as a shield against current criticism. You can't talk about our team that way, we have 5 Super Bowl wins. Okay, but what have you done lately? Championships from 30 years ago don't make your current 6-11 season any less painful. The most annoying thing about these fans is how they act like they all personally contributed to those past championships. They'll say we won like they were suiting up on Sundays, when in reality they were probably in elementary school or not even born yet. The excuse maker. Excuse maker fans have a ready-made explanation for every loss that doesn't involve admitting their team just wasn't good enough. It's never their team's fault, it's always the refs, injuries, bad luck, or some other external factor. These fans have convinced themselves that their team would be undefeated if not for all the conspiracies working against them. Every penalty is a bad call, every injury is suspicious timing, every loss is because the league wants their team to fail. They've created an alternate reality where their team is actually perfect. The refs are excuse makers' favorite scapegoat. We would have won it if not for that holding call in the third quarter, ignoring the fact that their team turned the ball over 4 times and couldn't score in the red zone. They'll spend hours analyzing penalty statistics to prove there's a conspiracy against their team. Injuries are another go-to excuse, even though every team deals with injuries. We only lost because our third-string linebacker was out, they'll say, like the one player was the difference between winning and losing by 3 touchdowns. Excuse maker fans never give the opposing team credit for good play. If their team loses, it's because something went wrong, not because the other team was better. They can't accept that sometimes you just get outplayed, outcoached, or out-executed. The overreactor. Overreactor fans treat every game like it determines the fate of the entire season. One bad performance and the season is over. One good game and they're booking Super Bowl tickets. These fans live in a constant state of emotional whiplash. You know these fans because their social media looks like a bipolar episode. Week 1 loss. Fire everyone, this team is garbage. I'm done watching. Week 2 win. Super Bowl here we come. Best team in the league. They have no concept of sample size or long-term trends. Overreactor fans are exhausting to be around because they turn every game into a life or death situation. They can't just enjoy football. Everything has to be the most important thing that's ever happened. A preseason loss becomes a referendum on the entire organization. These fans also have the memory of a goldfish. They'll completely forget about their meltdown from last week once their team wins a game. I never doubted this team, they'll say, apparently forgetting their 47 tweets about how the season is over. The worst overreactor fans are the ones who make dramatic declarations they can never follow through on. If they lose this game, I'm done with this team forever. Then they're back the next week acting like nothing happened. The toxic social media fan. Social media has given the worst fans a platform to spread their toxicity to a wider audience. These are the fans who turn every game threat into a war zone, harass opposing fans, and make threats over a game played by people they'll never meet. Toxic social media fans hide behind anonymous accounts to say things they'd never say in person. They'll slide into opposing fans' DMs with insults, threats, and harassment. They turn football discussions into personal attacks and make the entire online experience miserable for everyone else. These fans also brigade opposing teams' social media accounts after wins, flooding comment sections with trash talk and insults. They can't just enjoy their team's success, they have to make sure everyone else feels bad about it too. The worst toxic fans are the ones who attack their own players on social media. They'll send death threats to kickers who miss field goals, racist messages to players who make mistakes, and personal attacks on players' families. They've completely lost perspective on what football actually is. Toxic social media fans also love to screenshot and mock opposing fans' posts, turning other people's disappointment into content for their own entertainment. They've turned being a fan into being a bully. The gatekeeper. Gatekeeper fans have appointed themselves as the arbiters of who counts as a real fan. They quiz other fans, question their loyalty, and decide who deserves to support the team. These are the most insufferable fans because they've turned being a fan into some kind of exclusive club. You'll recognize gatekeepers because they're always asking other fans to prove their loyalty. Name 5 players from the 1987 roster, they'll demand, like being a fan requires passing some kind of test. They act like supporting a team is a privilege that has to be earned rather than a choice anyone can make. Female fans get the worst of gatekeeper behavior. These fans assume women only watch football because of boyfriends or husbands, and they constantly quiz them to prove they're real fans. Oh, you like the team? Name every starting linebacker from 1994. It's pathetic and sexist. Gatekeepers also hate new fans, even though every fanbase needs new people to grow and survive. They act like the team belongs to them personally and resent anyone who didn't suffer through the bad years. They'd rather have a small, miserable fanbase than welcome new supporters. The irony is that gatekeepers are often not the most knowledgeable fans themselves. They just memorize random trivia to use as weapons against other fans, but they don't actually understand the game any better than anyone else. The conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy theorist fans have convinced themselves that the NFL is rigged against their specific team. Every call, every schedule, every rule change is part of some grand conspiracy to keep their team from winning. They've created elaborate theories about why the league wants them to fail. These fans think the refs are actively working against their team, ignoring the fact that bad calls happen to everyone. They'll point to one questionable penalty as proof of a conspiracy, while ignoring all the calls that went their way. They've convinced themselves they're victims of some grand plot. Conspiracy fans also think the league manipulates schedules, draft orders, and even game outcomes to create certain storylines. They want a big market team in the Super Bowl, they'll say, apparently unaware that small market teams win championships all the time. The most ridiculous conspiracy fans think individual games are scripted like professional wrestling. They believe players and coaches are in on some elaborate schemes to predetermine outcomes. They can't accept that sometimes their team just loses because the other team played better. These fans make every loss about something bigger than football. They can't just be disappointed, they have to be victims of injustice. It's easier to believe in conspiracies than to admit their team might not be as good as they thought. Look, being a fan means caring deeply about something that's ultimately out of your control. That passion can make people do crazy things, but there's a difference between being passionate and being insufferable. Don't be the fan that ruins it for everyone else. If this video helped you identify the worst types of fans in your life, smash that like button and let me know in the comments which type annoys you the most. And if you want more breakdowns of everything that makes the NFL great and terrible, subscribe to Extra Point Explanation. Thanks for watching, and remember, be the fan you'd want to sit next to at a game.